Hey everyone, in this video I'm going to walk you through the process of making the WAV file that you will need for this assignment. And once again we're going to use Audacity, and I will launch it now. I'm just going to resize my window so that it fits in the screen capture area. And so in this assignment we are generating everything within Audacity itself. We're not recording our speech or anything else with a microphone. Everything's going to be handled within Audacity. And so a couple things to look at. You should, by default, the project rate has a sampling rate of 44,100 hertz. You shouldn't have to change that. So we begin by first going to tracks, add new, and a stereo track. And so it's a stereo track because there are two channels. There's a left channel and a right channel, and they're shown in parallel. So the next thing we are going to do is generate a tone. So we'll go generate tone, and here we get to specify what kind of tone. We want to keep it a sine tone. Here we're going to set the frequency to 500 hertz, leave the amplitude should be 0.5, and the duration. So there's a number of different formats. For this part, we're going to keep it here. So we have the hours, so 0 hours, 0 minutes, 0 seconds, and 100 milliseconds. So we're making a 500 hertz tone that's 100 milliseconds long. And when we do that, we see this wave, and looks like it should. And so we have this cursor, which is just like a cursor in a word processor, can move around. We want to get the cursor to the end of the file. So on a keyboard, you can hit end, and it takes you to the end, or you can move it manually. It turns yellow here once it's on that point. So you get it to the end here, and now I'd like you to go back to generate, silence, and now we're going to generate 900 milliseconds of silence. So so for the file as a whole, we have, and we can look at the whole thing by fitting the project in. So we have from 0 to 1 seconds, we have the first 100 milliseconds that are filled with this tone, followed by 900 milliseconds of silence. Now, the next thing I want you to do is to select all. So you can either do it through the drop-down menus or Command A or whatever keystroke it is on the PC. So once you've selected, I want you to copy, Command C, and then use the end key or navigate to the end to find the end of the file. And then I want you to Command V or paste in. And that is just creating a copy of that tone and the silence in immediately after. So let's zoom out even further. Let's find the end of that. I want you to paste another copy. So now we have 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20, 21. So let me see if that's right. So we do have 21 tones, and so this is a guide that's showing you, this is from the actual assignment. So we have 21 tones, and what we're going to be doing is adding interaural time delays in. And I just want to make sure we have the same. So let's count that we have the right number of tones here. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20, 21, right? So each of these tones and silence is 21 seconds, so actually we could have just counted. So it's 21, your file should be 21.0 seconds long. All right. Now, a couple things, let's zoom in on, let's choose a selection here and zoom in to see what this file looks like up close. So when we look at this from a distance, the sine tone looks like a continuous line, but this is a digital file, and so when you look at it very, very closely, it's digital, which means that it's a series of discrete points, and so each of these points is a sample, which can be represented as a number. And so what I'd like you to do, we're going to, before we actually do anything, the next step is to go into this audio track menu, click on the little triangle, and split the stereo track. So before I do that, I just want to show you why we're doing that. So we have two channels, a left and right channel, and while it's a stereo track, if I select it, whatever I do is done similarly in both the right and the left channel. But we want to work on the left channel by itself, and we want to work on the left channel independently. So what we're going to do is split the stereo track. Everything looks the same, there's just a different colored line here. And now when we select it, we can select and work on the left channel alone. And so what I'd like you to do is find some spot within this silence. This is the silence after the first tone, and create a window that captures 4 of these points. And so one of the ways that you can see this is down at the bottom. We've got this menu that instead of just eyeballing it, we can define what the cursor position is in this time format, and we can get pairs of points which are either telling us the starting and end of the selection, or the starting and length, the start and duration of the selection. And so we're right at the beginning of the file, and so I want you to go start and length of selection, and there's different formats here. And in this case, when we generated the tones, we used milliseconds, hours, minutes, seconds plus milliseconds. Here I want you to switch it to hours, minutes, seconds plus samples, which is telling you the number of samples or discrete points in the waveform that are in this selection. So here, so as we move this around, this number here on the left is going to change, but what we want is a window that's 4 samples long. So 3, 2, 3, 4. So I've captured 4. I've selected 4 samples of silence. It doesn't matter whether you got them here or further down in the file. We just need 4 samples of silence. And I'm going to go Command C or copy, and then I want to zoom out so we can see lots of files. Actually, we'll zoom so we see the whole thing. And so what I've done, what I just did was selected and copied 4 samples of silence from this gap between the tones on the left channel. And now I want to Command V or paste that silence in there. And so visually it doesn't look like we've done anything, but if we go in and and look at the file in detail, we may not, it'll take some time to actually see it up close, but there's actually a very, very slight delay. We've added that 4 milliseconds that we cut out and pasted has shifted the beginning of this wave over by 4 samples. Okay, so let's go back and see the whole thing. So I still have on my clipboard 4 samples of silence, and I already inserted some here. I'm going to insert another 4 samples here, here, and I'm going to do this 4 samples of silence all the way up to the silence between the 10th and the 11th tone. All right. And so what we've done, every time we added 4 samples of silence, it shifted everything over slightly for all of the subsequent tones. So if we look now, if we zoom in and look at this, the beginning of this tone, the gap is actually the time delay between the beginning of the right channel and the left channel is even greater. So for the remaining tones, I'd like you to do something else. So get the cursor in here between the 11th and the 12th tone. Zoom in, and we're going to choose some silence. And I might need to zoom in even farther. And so what I'm doing, I'm looking at the bottom of my window now. I'm at 23, 24, 25, 30. I'm trying to get to 44 samples. Almost there. Okay, so I've selected 44 samples of silence, and I'm going to do just like I did on the earlier part of the file. I'm going to copy that silence to the clipboard, and then I'm within that same spot, within the same gap between tones, I'm going to insert it. So these gaps are even larger, right? So they're 44 samples instead of 4. And once again, they are accumulating. So if we look at the waveform itself and the delay between the beginning of the tone on the right channel and the left channel is even greater. And so we've introduced a series of growing interaural time differences in the file as a whole. Now what I want to do is turn this back into a stereo track. So this triangle here at audio track, make it to a stereo track again, and going to export the file, export it as a WAV file, and we are going to just call it assignment 4.wave. Save it. You can skip this information. Actually, why don't you put your name in here? That would be great, so I could see it when you submit it. And there you go.